Do you know anybody that just kind of makes a big deal out of absolutely nothing? I think when I asked that question, people just started popping up into your mind. And one of the people that I thought of was former Tennessee football coach Derek Dooley. And if you don't know me that well, just know this, that I'm a huge Tennessee Vol fan. I love Tennessee volunteer football. Love it to death. And about 15 years ago, we hired a Nimrod by the name of Derek Dooley. And Derek Dooley was a coach who micromanaged everything. He was constantly making big deals out of nothing. And the thing that was so crazy to me is that one time he didn't like how the team showered. He said we didn't have good shower discipline. And so he bought new rags, new soap, and basically taught his team how to shower properly, which still blows my mind to this day. But he should have been worried about team chemistry. He should have been worried about the team the very next week that they were playing. He should have been worried about how they were going to match up. And really, all he was worried about was how his team showered. To me, that is majoring on a minor detail. Because Derek Dooley's results on the football field really didn't matter if how good they were showering or not. So today, as we continue Satanic Christianity in a different location, I'm going to try something new. Really and truly, I just switched areas of my office. Today we're going to be talking about majoring on minor details and minoring on major details. This week in Satanic Christianity, Jesus is giving the Pharisees, just another mic drop, because they were making big deals out of nothing, but they were ignoring big deals of the day. Maybe you know people like that. Maybe you've done that before. I have. But today we're going to talk about minoring on major details and majoring on minor details. Let's read our text today. We're in Matthew 23 still. It says, "Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites! You pay a tenth of mint, dill, and cumin, and yet you have neglected the more important matters of the law: justice, mercy, and faithfulness. These things should have been done without neglecting the others. Blind guides, you strain out a gnat but gulp down a camel." Now we're going to talk about what that means here in just a second. So basically what the Pharisees were doing, they were measuring out all those spices to make sure that they weighed 10%. That was their tithe. They made a big deal out of their tithe. You did not miss your tithe. But they ignored justice, mercy, and faithfulness. So in other words, get your tithe, but you can be a butthole to somebody. Get your tithe in, but ignore justice issues. Get your tithe in, but ignore your faithfulness to Jesus. It's minoring on major details, majoring on minor details. The main point today is Satanic Christianity majors on minor details. Again, the Pharisees would weigh out the spices to make sure they were at 10%, but they overlooked their faithfulness to God. They overlooked faithfulness. They overlooked mercy. They overlooked justice. Why does this matter? For a long time in my walk with Jesus, I did this. And if I'm not careful, I still do it. I major on minor details. Because when I was in high school, maybe you're watching this and you're in high school, or you're watching this and you're about to be in high school. I hope so, because I'm a student pastor, and this is hopefully the audience that I'm targeting here. There were things in my life that I thought if I did, I was more, I guess holy than others. I thought if I wore Christian t-shirts that that would put me above other people. I thought if I listened to Christian music, that would make me more holy, more godly. I thought if I watched Christian movies, if I didn't cuss, if I waited to have sex until marriage, if I didn't party on the weekend, and I was more holy, more faithful to God than other people. If I went to church Sunday and Wednesday. But I'm majoring on minor details where you say, well, going to church, that's a major detail. Maybe. Because the thing was, I was elevating things for God instead of time spent with God. So that's why this message matters. Some of you may think that He is pleased with your church attendance, and that will override what's truly inside, but it does not. Some of you may think He's pleased with your church attendance, and that will override you spending time with Him on your own, but it doesn't. If Jesus has your heart, then He will also have your actions. You can't act your way into faithfulness. You can't just drift your way into godliness. You can't pretend your way into loving Jesus. If He has your heart, then He will have your actions. The Pharisees' problem is they tried to do the things for God without spending time with God. And my argument to that is it is impossible to do things for God without spending time with God. Now, you can do things for God, but you'll be miserable. You can do things for God, but for all the wrong reasons. You can do things for God, but you're actually doing the devil's dirty work. Adrian Rogers used to say all the time, he's dead now, he said, the devil will just as soon send you to hell from the pew as he would a bar stool. Just because you're doing things that you think are for God, don't think that you are right with God. If Jesus has your heart, then He will automatically have your actions. So many people are trying to work their way to the heart of God when you work from the heart of God. Either Jesus has your heart or He doesn't. Either you live to know Him or you don't. Either you live to enjoy Him or you don't. Now let's talk about straining out a gnat and gulping down a camel really quick. Now you may have heard me read that and you go, what the heck? Well, let me explain it. So straining out a gnat, what that means is, so back in those days, the Pharisees would, if they were going to drink something, if they were drinking wine, or my personal drink of choice, Dr. Pepper Zero, if they were drinking that, what they would do is they would put a strain over their jar, shot glass, whatever. And they would have their drink in the pitcher. They would pour it over the strain to catch a gnat, because a gnat was on the list of unclean animals back then. And they would actually do that because they didn't want to drink a gnat. But they didn't worry about the camel, which was the biggest of unclean animals. Which is another way, that was imagery for Jesus to hopefully get through to them. Now I know like straining out a gnat and gulping down a camel doesn't mean a whole lot to us today. I've never seen anybody try to gulp a camel down whole. If you ever see somebody doing that, video it, send it to me. Jesus was saying that as imagery, like, look, you are majoring on these minute little things, like a gnat, like your tithe, the 10% of all these spices. And you're ignoring the camel-sized issues of like faithfulness, justice, and mercy. That's what He meant when He said that. Are you ignoring more important matters? Are you attending church activities but ignoring Jesus? It can happen. So Jackson What do I do if I'm majoring on minor details and I'm minoring on major details? What do I do? You focus more on your personal relationship with Jesus, if you have one. If you don't have one, get one. If you don't have one and would like to get one, feel free to reach out. Here's some examples. For some of you, that might mean praying and reading scripture 10 minutes a day. It's better than nothing. For some of you, that might mean having to get real with God and other people and saying, hey, look, I'm not who I'm pretending to be. For some of you, that might mean having to let go of something in your life that's weighing you down out of fear that maybe Jesus won't bring you the life he claims to give you. You focus maybe you focus on praying 5 times a day for 2 minutes. 5 minutes. If you pray 5 times a day for 5 minutes, that's 25 minutes a day. I'm not saying it's the time that matters, but it's the quantity. It's the quality of that time. Wherever you're at with Jesus, focus on going to the next step, whatever that may mean. Because again, if Jesus has your heart, then he will also have your actions too. If you're trying to do things for God, hoping to get right with God, that will never happen. You'll just grow to resent God more than you will rebel against God. And you may be sitting at church every Sunday and still in full-on rebellion against God. Why? Because he doesn't have your heart. Maybe you did it one time, but you started majoring on minor details, and it sucked the joy out of your relationship with him. Why do you do that? Why do you focus more on your relationship with Jesus and focus more on the heart of the matter? Why? Because Jesus says, for I desire faithful love and not sacrifice. The knowledge of God rather than burnt offerings. Jesus desires faithful love to him. He desires faithfulness. He desires time with him, not sacrifice. Jesus desires you wanting to spend time with him every single day and spending time with him every single day. So if you think that by going to church a couple times a week, listening to the right music, watching the right movies, staying away from the right people makes you holy, it doesn't. Well, the only thing that makes you holy, the only thing that makes you more in love with Jesus is more time with Jesus. That's it. That's the only way. That is the only way to grow more in love with Jesus, and that is to spend more time with him. Not just to spend time with him, not just to check the box, but to actually spend time with him because you love him. And you can't get there on your own ways. You can't get there by your own means. So what you do is you sit down and you just be honest with God and you say, God, I want to love you more than I do right now. I need you to help me with that. God, I want to spend more time with you than I am right now. Help me with that. God, I am majoring on minor details and I want to major on major details. I need you to help me with that because you desire faithful love and not sacrifice. Now, am I saying stop going to church? No. But if you are focusing on faithful love to Jesus, you're going to want to be at church. If you're focusing on sacrifice, then you feel like you have to be there and you don't want to be. Or you want to go for wrong reasons. You want to go because you have a crush on somebody or you want to see your friends or whatever. If you focus on growing more in love with Jesus, you will be amazed how he takes care of the actions. So, are you majoring on minor details and minoring on major details? You can always turn around by the power of Jesus. We'll see you next week with week 5 of Satanic Christianity.